Now, you're welcome along to the football show. Always good to bring in Mr. Damien Delaney. His big regret in life, of course, is that he became a professional footballer and couldn't dedicate his time to be the best golfer he can possibly be at a younger age. Damien, hello.
Hey Joe, how are you?
How is the obsession? Your obsession is real, by the way. All you talk to people about is golf.
Yeah. I know, yeah, and people know that's my obsession, so that's all people talk to me about. So,
Win-win.
Yeah, exactly, and no, it's good. You know, I found my second calling.
Yes, your main calling, really. It's golf, family, football. I think that's about you.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly right.
How is your golf game at this stage, by the way?
Really good, really good.
God.
Yeah, really good. It's getting better as the years progress. So I've made a lot of changes, and I'm good. Yeah, I don't want to be boring the viewers, but we thought, you know.
Give me your handicap.
Anyway, actually, on 5.1.
Oh, painful. When did you take up the game properly?
About 3 years ago when I finished playing football.
It's disgusting. It is disgusting. You're just naturally good at everything.
No, that's not true. I promise you, I have a little home set up here. So trust me, it is all hard work. Hundreds of thousands of golf balls. I think I did my 10,000 hours in 2 years.
Loads going on. I'll talk to you later on a little bit about the Ireland-Azerbaijan game, which is a big game for Stephen Kenny at this point, you would think, in his tenure. But let's chat some Premier League. It's been a couple of weeks since we've talked. I generally try and make a rule to only have you on when things are going well for Solskjaer. That is proving tricky at the moment. Yeah. Things are not going well. And just what he didn't need, all over the papers today. Bizarre photo when you see it at first. Alex Ferguson and Habib Nurmagomedov chatting at Old Trafford at the weekend, and the video has been released, and so they're chatting away. And if you haven't seen this, Ferguson is saying how, seeing Ronaldo on the bench, that would have given Everton a big lift. And Habib is, he's sticking up for Solskjaer, and he's trying to say, well, Ronaldo did come on. And Ferguson says, no, always start your best players. So now the headlines are everywhere. Ferguson on Solskjaer, should have started Ronaldo. Just what he didn't need. It's kind of a weird thing for a couple of reasons. One, Ferguson is so obviously there being recorded by cameras. I mean, I'm not saying he should be tech savvy necessarily. He is of an age, but he does understand people are holding up camera phones within 5 feet of him, and there are several of them. So he's kind of loose enough here in making this point. And then secondly, Ferguson rested his best players plenty of times. I mean, he kind of pioneered rotation in that treble-winning season and beyond in English football. So I don't know if Ferguson's mantra was always play your best players. I don't think that was true, but it's just another little thing Solskjaer did not need at the moment.
He didn't, and I'm actually going to come down on Solskjaer's side here, and I think that he was probably right to rest him. At 36 years of age, it was inevitable that he was going to be left out of games, and I think Everton at home, what was the point in assembling a squad of hundreds and hundreds of millions if you're not going to be able to rest people? Everybody over the course of the year is going to get rested. The days Ronaldo playing 70, 80 games are well and truly behind him. So in order to maximise his output, you're going to have to give him days off. In the context of the conversation with the MMA fighter, it's small talk. I mean, obviously Alex Ferguson should probably realise that there are cameras on him, but it's small talk. He probably thinks it's inconsequential. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a throwaway comment. Because as you said, Alex Ferguson rested players an awful lot over his tenure when he was Manchester United manager. So for me, I don't think it's a huge issue, to be honest with you. But I agree, it's probably not what Solskjaer wanted in the end, is it?
No. To be fair, you're absolutely right. This is not some kind of Ferguson intervention. Like, you could read the headlines and not understand how the headlines came about, and you could think that Ferguson is making a real power play here or trying to intervene. Yeah. It's not that at all. Does Ronaldo make Manchester United a better team?
Absolutely. He's a goal scorer, and he's going to get you 25 goals a season. You can't not be a better team with someone of that ilk in your side. It's just plain and simple. But how you use him and what you expect of him and when you use him is obviously the key part of it. No, it's up to the manager to manage that situation, to get the best out of him, to use him in a way that and kind of get Ronaldo in a mindset where he's going to bring the most out of his teammates, that's going to get more out of the young guys, to be a leader and to come off the bench and win games. You've already seen how many points has he got Manchester United this season already with his goals. The Villarreal game could turn out to be priceless, because that could be the difference between Manchester United getting out of the group and not.
And are they using him properly in general play, in your opinion?
Yes, I mean, look, he's a number. I mean, there's only one way you can use him, and that's like he's a number 9, and you got to get him up the top of the pitch and just say, do you know what, just stand still and wait for the balls to come in the box. We don't want you chasing lost causes. We don't want you holding the ball up. We don't want you linking play. If you get a little bit bored, I don't mind you coming short just to get a feel of the ball. You know, have a bounce pass with Bruno or something like that. But then get yourself up the top of the pitch and trust us as a team, the other 10 players, that we will get the ball in the area, that you will score goals. Now that's up to the manager to maximise that, really. From a tactical point of view, you got to get legs around him as well. I think the fact that Manchester United play with wingers, which is an issue, I think, for Solskjaer. And I mean, chalk on their heels, wingers. You know, Sancho stays high and wide, and if it's Greenwood on the other side or Rashford when he plays, that'll be the same. And if you play with the old number 8 in Bruno, he can get a little bit isolated. So then when the ball comes into him, he can be a little bit on his own with 2 centre-backs, and I suppose those days, again, are gone. So I would much rather see the wide players tuck in a little bit to get a little bit closer to him so that they can bounce passes off him, or when the ball does come into him and it sticks, he has an option. And then the full-backs bomb on and give you the width. But obviously Solskjaer has gone on the record before as saying that he wants Manchester United to play with wingers because that's the Manchester United way. So it's up to him to figure out how to get the most out of him and fit him into a team project, I suppose is what I'm trying to say.
Because it just doesn't feel like it's working. In some respects, it's fine. They're just 2 points off the leaders. It's better than at this stage last year. I think 4 or 5 points better. On the other hand, the performances are just very average in so many games. The young boys' defeat, Villarreal was a get-out-of-job kind of a situation, as was West Ham away. You lose to Aston Villa. Everton at the weekend, 2 points dropped at home. They were very average at Molineux, very average against Southampton. Even against Newcastle, Ronaldo's first game, it wasn't like it was this amazing team performance. Yeah. I mean, they should really have won every single Premier League game thus far. They've played nobody in terms of the quality they're going to have to beat if they want to win the league. So it's just not working at the moment. But
that's not the Ronaldo question. You know, it's a general question. I think
that's the bigger question. Yeah,
he's working because he's scoring goals. And he seems to be a team player. You see him from the touchline getting involved, and he's obviously very, very upset. But you see him cajoling people when a goal goes in. We've seen that several times. So he seems to be on board. So I think just getting more out of him or maximising your usage from him isn't too bad. Manchester United problems are obviously far greater than what we believe, really, because they are in serious trouble. That's what, on the face of it, it looks like it. But you can understand with the run of games coming up now, would you be surprised to see Solskjaer go back to the way? Remember last year when they played against all the big teams, they went very, very defensive and counter-attacking, and that's why he got results against Manchester City, where he played with the 2 sitting midfield players and really soaked up an awful lot of pressure. I think Manchester United could resort to that, but again, I think that way is outdated, really, and I don't think that's going to get Manchester United to where they want to be. So, in terms of last year, the evolution, I just don't see it, and like you said there, it's arguable that they are worse than what they were last year.
Yeah, because you obviously take plenty of criticism for your views in Solskjaer. I think increasingly people are probably coming around more and more to your viewpoint that some kind of ceiling is being hit, and I would we had some interesting conversations last year. I would stand by the fact that he's done a lot of good things. When you think they were in the toilet, really rock bottom when Mourinho left, emotionally, spiritually, footballing was, relationship with the fans, the Ed Woodward thing. So there's a much better atmosphere now. He's made some good signings in Fernandes, Cavani, Maguire. I guess Wan-Bissaka, he's kind of breaking even there. Got rid of a lot of the deadwood. He inherits a team that still has Fellaini, and Alexis Sanchez is not a good presence there, and the likes of Ashley Young and Marcus Rojo, there was a ceiling there in terms of playing staff. So he's done a lot of good things, but there's just something not right now when it comes to, I don't know, young boys, his decisions there when they lose a man, for instance. There's just something not quite happening when he has got to a point where it should be better given the players he has at his disposal. So I think the moderates are starting to turn a little bit.
Yeah, look, I mean, he has done a lot of good, but you got to look at the dressing room that he inherited. Okay, so the dressing room that he inherited was on the floor. It was, the end of the Jose Mourinho era. So to compare Solskjaer to the end of the Jose Mourinho era, of course he's done well. But Mourinho did a lot of good at Manchester United as well. In 2017 where he won 3 trophies. That's what Mourinho should be judged on, but Mourinho obviously lost the plot and, ran the dressing room into the ground and lost the dressing room completely, and the place was a shambles, and he's absolutely ironed that out, him and the backroom staff or the people who are signing or moving players on. But, you look at the likes of Memphis Depay is now at Barcelona, Angel Di Maria, Ander Herrera, Romelu Lukaku, so there was an awful lot of dead wood, is the term you use, moved out, but there's an awful lot of very, very good players that realistically should still be at Manchester United or of that level. So he's done an awful lot of good, but for me, he's a nice guy, and nothing that I have is, I don't support Manchester United. I don't have anything against him. I don't have anything in for him, contrary to what a lot of people say. What the opinion that I gave of Manchester United is a clinical opinion, an observation for what I see for where I'm sitting. But he's just not at the level required of the same guys that he's up against. You watch that game, Liverpool and Man City at the weekend, the tempo, the tactics, the in-game tactics, the substitutions, it was incredible. You were tired watching it. You just don't believe that Manchester United are capable of partaking in a game of that calibre at the moment.
One last one on United, and then we'll talk Liverpool City. Jadon Sancho is like the 70-80 million forgotten man. What are you seeing there thus far? A guy who doesn't seem to have a whole lot of direction. He just seems to be bought and thought that, you're a good player, go and stand in the wing, here's the ball, please do something. And I'm not sure he's that type of player. He's probably a player that needs an awful lot of instruction, an awful lot of rules, ground rules, of where to be, when to be. When number 6s have the ball, you have to be in this position. When the fullback has the ball, you have to be in this position. All these things that young players crave. Now, all the kids coming out of academies love this stuff. Those days of happy players, a good player, or get a good player in a good mood, get him on the ball, are kind of gone, if I'm being honest here. He just looks like he's lost on the pitch. He's not that good that he can just put him on the pitch because he's young. You can't just put him on the wing and say, here, go and beat 4 people. He needs to learn how to mix his game up, running inside, off the ball, making internal runs. So he just doesn't look, from what I see, that he's been coached to the level that he probably was at Dortmund. So on Liverpool City then, let's start with the Salah goal for a second. The defender and you there, were you bristling and screaming, someone kick him, someone foul him?
No, that was just pure genius, really, because I can understand why the players were so reluctant to stick a leg in, because with the way the rules have gone in the game, that it's just a slight brush, they're going to go down, and VAR are going to give it as long as there is some sort of contact. So, look, it was a piece of magic, really, even though... And the bit that I probably would look at the most was Laporte's decision, because as soon as Salah comes inside on his left foot, Laporte there is well within his rights to say, we've seen this a million times, I have to stop the shot. You know what I mean? I can't wait and hope that my centre-back partner or backtracking midfield player is there, because as soon as he gets a glimpse, he's going to pull the trigger. So I have to overcover the left foot shot, because that's what Mo Salah is, really, isn't it? That left foot, we've seen him so many times do it. So he just overcompensates from that side. And I don't think he's wrong in overcompensating. You have to stop the biggest danger. And the biggest danger right there is as soon as Salah gets a glimpse, he's going to pull the trigger.
Well, I totally agree with that. And I would suspect if you said to Laporte, if he was able to somehow join you on the couch and come to the moment where Salah cuts onto his left and goes back onto his right, and we hit pause there, and he gets the behind the goal angle, and you say to him, Salah's going to shoot here now with his right foot. Yeah. You can see Ederson, what he's got covered. Yeah. Are you happy enough with that? You take your chances? Absolutely, I think he would take his chances.
Absolutely. It's the lesser two evils. It's the least danger. Mo Salah at that angle on his right foot with a world-class goalkeeper, 99 times out of 100, either Ederson saves it, he missed a target, or somebody gets a block on it, so he covers the biggest danger. Because if Salah cuts inside his left foot there, and Laporte worries about him going back on his right foot, so he gives him that window he's looking for, and he bends it in the far post, Laporte's going to get absolutely opened up by his manager saying, how many times do you have to tell you he's left-footed, overcompensate? But it's just magic. Sometimes as a player, as a defender, you do have to stand up and applaud what you saw, because the feat was incredible. It was a wonderful finish, and it was probably the only spot he could put it.
So at that point, you and Laporte on the couch look at each other and say, what can you do? I do like the thought of you and Laporte watching this match together in this strange universe.
I'm just saying, look, that was incredible, in fairness. And look, I mean, realistically, he probably could have done with a shout from a midfield player, maybe, of like, I'm here. Or maybe if he saw he had help, he might have been able to kind of cover that eventuality that he would go back on his right foot. But as you said, like, the biggest danger was the left-footed shot. So I think he did well there, Laporte, or as much as he could do.
Salah's 31 years old when his contract ends in 2023, so this season and next season, and then he's up. Best goals per game record of any Liverpool player post-war, 2 Premier League Golden Boots, never injured, and he's picking a pretty good time now to put in some of his, the best performances of his career, you could argue, at the moment. He's in phenomenal form. He's on a measly 200 grand a week. Sterling, Virgil van Dijk is the top paid Liverpool player on 220. So Salah is looking around. He's seeing everybody from Ronaldo on 510 a week. He's seeing De Gea 375. He's seen De Bruyne 400. He's seen Lukaku 325. Grealish and Sterling 300. These are all estimates out there. And he's saying, you'd have to say not unreasonably, well, you're going to have to pay me 300. I presume Liverpool here will have very little bargaining power.
I don't know. I think there will be a part of Liverpool will be thinking, have we got the best out of him? And Mo Salah is going to try for us for the next 18 months. And if we can get the best of Mo Salah for 18 months at 31, would we be too upset if we lost him on a free from a business point of view? Because if we give him that kind of money, it's a big gamble that in his 30s, his production might drop off, and the form that warranted that 300, 400 type contract you're talking about might slow down. And I think Liverpool are a very, very cute football club insofar as they'll be well aware that as soon as you push one player into that world-class bracket, you'll have 5 more knocking at the door the next day. And once you break that ceiling, you can get caught in a very, very kind of dizzying spiral where, Van Dijk has a good 6 months. His agent will be knocking on the door saying, well, Virgil wants to be, in the same bracket as Mo. If Salah was 24, I think, or 25, and he was producing this type of form, I think Liverpool would be willing to give him the type of money. But I just feel that at, 30 years of age, it's the risk reward of giving him that type of money and hoping that his production stays what it is. I think it just outweighs it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool just left it run down and just realised that we got the best out of him. We got absolutely more than we ever bargained for out of him. And maybe sell him with a year to go in his contract. So next summer, move him on and go in another direction, because Liverpool are not the type of football club that will just spend money for the sake of it, or because the fans demand it. There will have to be a business sense behind it. Because, as you said, the bracket that he's put himself in with his form puts him up there with the highest paid players in the world. And at his age, I think it's touch risky.
Really? Do you not think they're all playing so much better into their 30s now?
I do, but what I'm saying is, if you give a player that kind of money in their 30s,
more than money.
Risk.
It's what it's going to do.
Risk,
okay.
Yeah, if the risk of giving him that, if his production levels drop, and also you're going to have 5 players at the manager's door the next morning.
Yeah, it is notable they've signed a bunch of their bigger names on long-term contracts now. Unless they always felt Salah would be the trickiest. Who knows? I was just looking, by the way, out of interest on... a couple of newspapers were comparing best of the best in Europe over the last kind of 50, 60 games, depending what they've played. So Salah is on... by the way, we don't have to develop this point overly, but it's just interesting because you'll see who, by the way, is the king over the last season or two. And it's not Salah, and it's not Messi, and it's not Mbappe, and it's not Ronaldo, it's not Haaland. It's none of those guys. Salah, 59 games, 40 goals, 9 assists in 59 games. Mbappe, 58 games... 46 goals, very impressive. Messi, 52 games, 39 goals. He's slowing down a touch. Ronaldo in 51 games has 41 goals. Haaland, in fairness, is ridiculous. 49 games and 52 goals. The king, fewest number of games of them all. Lewandowski, 50 games. He has 61 goals. So 9 games fewer than Salah, for instance. 21 goals more. He also has the highest number by a mile of goal involvements, which was one of the stats. So, for instance, Salah 49 goal involvements, Lewandowski 71, compared to Salah 49, Messi 51, Ronaldo 46. He's involved in 71 goals, has scored the most goals by a distance, 33 years of age. This is a stupid thing to say about Lewandowski. He is still underrated. Like I think he really suffers by playing in the Bundesliga in terms of the football that too many of us are watching week in, week out. Like, his numbers are just outrageous at 33.
Yeah, he's in incredible shape, and he seems to be getting better. But I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure his contract situation is at Bayern either, but they're a notoriously tricky club to deal with as well. in terms of, breaking wage structures and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays out at 33. Maybe because I did remember last summer he was saying that he was looking for a fresh challenge, or those little rumours were kind of creeping out. So maybe he was kind of trying to force Bayern's hand as well. But you're right, we don't see him enough week in, week out. We just see him in the Champions League nights, highlights and what it might be. But those numbers in that league at his age are off the charts.
You mentioned there that you found the game at Anfield really fascinating from a tactical point of view. What kind of things jumped out to you?
Man City playing through Liverpool's pressure in the first half. Because everybody who plays against Jurgen Klopp's team says, you have to be brave, you have to try and play through the press. And I'd say there's not many teams who've done it in the first 45 minutes as well as what Manchester City done it. There was some balls out of defence there by Walker and Diaz. I mean, like reverse passes into a midfield player on the backside of the Liverpool, and just took 4 or 5. Jordan Henderson especially, who was really struggling. Not because he was lacking legs or anything. It was just Manchester City's quality was incredible. I mean, it was unbelievable the way they played through the press. I haven't seen many teams, if any, really do that to Liverpool, because when Liverpool's press comes, it is one of the best that I've seen or I've watched. They are incredible when they go full throttle. But Manchester City just kept getting out, and if you can do it, Liverpool looked rattled because Fabinho was caught in no man's land, because ordinarily he's the kind of the safety valve that for the ball that's lumped up towards the centre forward. He helps the centre back, so he just picks up the loose balls. But when you're playing through the press with that quality and getting the likes of De Bruyne on the backside of Henderson turned and running, it was interesting to watch Liverpool racing back, trying to get back into shape. And Klopp obviously was furious on the touchline. But I don't think that Liverpool pressed any worse than what they normally do. It was just that Manchester City's quality and bravery was brilliant to watch.
On City and what they're doing at the moment with their front three, you're kind of looking for a pattern or trying to figure out what's going on here. So you've Grealish, who was false 9 on Sunday and then was out on the left-hand side at Stamford Bridge, seemed to do well that day, and left-hand side against PSG. You have Foden, who's false 9 against Chelsea, and then Sterling's false 9 against PSG, and then Foden goes out left, swaps with Grealish for Anfield and man of the match performance, and then you've a mixture of Jesus on the right-hand side for Stamford Bridge and Anfield, Mahrez against PSG. What's going on here with this front three at City? Like, is he lost? Does he know exactly what he's doing? Like, is he brilliantly working out what each opposition don't want per game? Is he chopping and changing because it's not quite working? What's going on there?
I think he's scrambling, seriously scrambling, because he obviously had a number 9 in Harry Kane, potentially lined up when it didn't come in. I think he's probably, in a funny kind of way, he's probably saying to the board, you need to get me number 9 in January. Otherwise, we're going to continue to look a little bit rudderless. Rudderless is probably too strong a term, to be honest. They look a little bit disjointed off the front. And I think if they're to retain their Premier League title, they need a number 9. And I think he will be emphatically telling that to the powers that be, that in January, I know that, is it Haaland's clause becomes activated in January, his release clause. So I think he will be saying to them, either Harry Kane, if he still looks the way he looks at Spurs, can we get somebody in January? Because, if you make me go this way for the whole season, I can't guarantee you trophies. I can't guarantee the Premier League. And I probably can't guarantee the Champions League. So he's searching is the answer to your question, because he's hoping something clicks or somebody catches fire or somebody answers his prayers for him.
Yeah, I'd half wondered that as well. Like, almost if he's at the stage of hoping something clicks. Let's try him there this time, and just Absolutely. Sometimes you discover something.
Yeah, somebody produces something that you didn't expect. Either Grealish performs the false 9 role to a T, or Gabby Jesus somehow develops into the world class number 9, like Aguero. So he's scrambling, I think, is the best way to put it, and he's hoping something clicks.
And yet I would still think they're pretty happy. Like we mentioned Manchester United at the top, and they've come through an incredibly gentle opening to the Premier League season. City have now been at Spurs away. Okay, they lost, but they've been there. They've been at Anfield. They've been at Stamford Bridge, and they're very nicely positioned. Let me just give you these fixtures for City. You can stop me where you think realistically they'll lose. They've got Burnley, they've got Brighton, they've got West Ham, they've got Palace, Manchester United in November will be interesting. But then they've got Everton, West Ham, Villa, Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, Leicester. That brings them to Stephen's Day. And then they've Brentford last game of the year.
Yeah.
There's every chance they go through the rest of this calendar year very, very close to 3 points all the way suddenly.
Yeah, and without a recognised number 9. And if that gets them to the January window that I was talking about, that's what you do. Because I remember last year, I remember the first half of the season, a lot of people, myself included, were kind of saying, Manchester City aren't cooking on all cylinders yet. They're a little bit kind of look like they're playing within themselves. And maybe we're thinking, is this some master plan by Pep to kind of conserve energy and cut loose for the back half of the season? I think now at the minute, he probably realises that if he can negotiate the first period of we've just had and be in contention or be at the top or be thereabouts, that this run, that false number 9 or that number 9 they're lacking, will get them to St. Stephen's Day, the January window, probably top or second or, within a couple of points of top anyway. And then he's probably saying, you got to get me the number 9 because I can't make miracles after Christmas. So he's done brilliant the first half of the year. And I think obviously in January he will be expecting someone to come through the door. Yeah.
It's a bloody interesting season, isn't it?
It's shaping up brilliantly. And I think Chelsea are still the ones to beat for me. I think I've got a funny feeling about them.
2 quick ones because I do want to talk to you about Ireland. Have you seen much of Palace and or Spurs?
I have, I've seen both. I've seen all of Palace,
Oh, have you? Okay, brilliant. Because we talked maybe a month or two ago, and it was fascinating. Loads of people really enjoyed the Palace talk because you gave kind of insight that we don't tend to get about Crystal Palace for obvious reasons all that often on the show. And in effect, for anyone who wasn't listening, we were previewing how Vieira might go, and you were saying Steve Parish at Palace is, looked at the South London area and it's a potential goldmine for young players, and so they've put a huge amount into a new academy. I saw they've hired 20 new scouts after we'd spoken, and this is the direction of the club now. Bring players through and there'll be Premier League players, or sell them and it's money and all the rest of it. And the slight concern I had was Patrick Vieira, touch unproven and a little bit messy in France at times, and surely you want to just stay in the Premier League while you're waiting for the academy players to come through. That could take 4 or 5 years, and you were saying it's fair enough concern. So thus far they are 1 win against Spurs. Admittedly they're 1 win, 4 draws and 3 losses. 2 of those losses against Chelsea and Liverpool, to be fair, the other against Watford. So they're in 14th, same position as Watford, 4 points above relegation. Is Steve Parish happy with this? What's Vieira doing? What are you making of things thus far?
He's absolutely, without question, changed the face of the football club, changed the face of the playing style. The manager has undoubtedly done that. The results probably haven't been what they wanted them to be. But I think with the start they had, they've had a couple of draws, with Brentford and Leicester there, but I suppose that was a good draw, having been 2-0 down. They probably would have expected maybe 2 or 3 more points on the board. But in terms of, pressing high up the pitch, winning the ball back high up the pitch, counter-attacking from that high press, and much more forward-thinking, enthusiastic, as opposed to Roy Hodgson, who was very pragmatic and conservative and, wanted to keep the games low and win it by 1. But Patrick Vieira has been handed, the cream of the crop of the talent in the Championship, with the likes of Olise and Eze, who's injured at the moment. Wilfred looks to be enjoying himself again, and the 2 centre-backs seem to be brilliant. The boy they signed from Chelsea, Guehi, and the one they took from Fulham, Anderson, absolutely fantastic players. A pair of them are modern-day footballers playing out from the back. You want to see their pass completion and their touches and their attempted passes in the game of football. It'd probably be up there with the amount of passes I would have attempted in the season. So there's been a notable change, and everybody's really happy. The fans are happy, but it's just about getting a few more points on the board now. But everybody's optimistic that will come.
Okay, interesting. And then very quickly, Spurs. This guy's I kind of always been a fan of Nuno and thought Makin's a very good manager in lots of different ways. There was a piece of analysis Jamie Carragher did after the Arsenal game, which was real low ebb for them. I know they won at the weekend against Villa, and Højbjerg was sort of in his position, but Ndombele and Dele Alli were away with the fairies. It was bizarre stuff, and Carragher, was saying this is bizarre, and you wonder what the manager's doing or not doing. What's your sense early on here? Is he going to turn this around? He has gone on the record, which was interesting, as saying we have a lot of problems. And there's the Kane thing too, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest problem. I mean, Harry Kane being in the building and not scoring goals. I don't know what he's been like around the training ground. I don't know what he's been. Is he just kind of saying, I'm here, but I'm leaving next year, or selling me in January, or I'm itching for a move in January? I don't know, but that's a huge problem when your main man is around the building and he doesn't seem to be all that interested or can't get himself interested. So, look, there's a lot of problems there, but the fact that they let Serge Aurier, they terminated his contract, I think it points to the fact that there's a lot of problems with players there and attitudes. I think there's a lot of players there whose attitudes probably aren't quite right. And Nuno probably knows that. And he probably thinks we need to move these guys out and start afresh. We need a young, hungry crop of players, even if we go into the under-21s or we sign some young, hungry players. But there's a lot of players at that football club that probably aren't in the right mindset. And when I say the right mindset, they're probably not hungry for success. They just probably seem to have some argument with somebody, or they feel they should have been sold, or they should have been given a contract, or whatever it may be. But ultimately it all comes down to the owners of the group, because when they were in the Champions League final against Liverpool that year, that was the time that if Spurs were ever going to capitalise, tie Christian Eriksen down to a long-term deal, sign the 2 or 3 players for Poch. You had a world-class manager with a world-class system. He had the backing of the whole club. They didn't do it. And since that point, I think it's just disintegrated. But by the sounds of it, looking from the outside, I'd say there's an awful lot of problems with players and attitudes in that building.
We'll talk Ireland in just a second. Football on Off the Ball is brought to you by Sky All, the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. Damien Delaney back in just one moment.